the Annan Commission was not a UN commission or an international commission. It was really a Myanmar commission with the majority of the membership being citizens of Myanmar. 6 of them, 3 internationals. It is for the first time that the government itself and Aung San Suu Kyi herself commissioned such a report. And I remember very clearly that when she installed our commission in September 2016, she told us to be bold. And the other important thing is that she wanted us to come up with recommendations that met international norms and standards.
There's no prospect at the moment of the Rohingyas who've been left. It's most of the Rohingya population coming back. I mean, would you, as somebody who sat on that commission report, sort of say you just cannot apply it until we have those Rohingyas back? Because the report was meant to address the unequal treatment of the Rohingyas, and you can't do that if they've been forced into exile.
It's a valid point, but I would say that our report contains a number of recommendations that are very important for a real debate that needs to take place. What it takes in order to make sure that the Rohingya come back not only on a voluntary basis, but can also come back into a situation where they can have a life, where they have rights, where they're not put in camps again. Because if you don't do that, if you don't look at what our report has recommended in order to make that possible, it will just be a revolving door. They will come back, and in a year's time they will go back to Bangladesh. 650,000 people fled for a reason, and they're not likely to want to go back to a situation that they fled because they were terrified.
The rhetoric we now hear from Myanmar is very defiant. It always insists that the Rohingyas don't belong, that they're not part of Myanmar, that it's good that they've gone. Do you see any opening at all, from your experience, for some kind of engagement with the international community, a dialogue that might soften that position by the Myanmar government?
It will not be easy, but I mean, what is missing in all of this is a dialogue with and between the two communities. And I was struck by, on the many visits that we paid to Rakhine State, and we traveled from the north right down to the south, that there are, I would say, the majority of Rakhines and also the Rohingya want a solution. They want to live together, because with 650,000 people gone, and the year before that 87,000, you have a situation of economic collapse. And the economy was, particularly in the north, but also in central, was very dependent on labor provided by the Rohingya, and also on economic interaction in the sense of trade. A lot of Rohingyas went fishing, sold their fish to the Rakhine. I mean, it is an economy in distress.
You've seen how the language of mistrust and hatred has grown, particularly over the last 5 years. It seems incredibly intense to me, and some people say we can never have the Rohingyas back because it would just be a disaster. There'd just be terrible clashes. But how do you overcome that level of deep mistrust and fear?
That is going to take time, and it's been made worse since 2012 when people where Rohingya were put into camps and other Muslims as well. It has contributed to even greater fear. People are even more fearful of each other than before, because if you don't know your neighbor, if you don't interact, you're only going to distrust each other more than before. What has been missing for a long time, and particularly also since the 25th of August, is a government voice, government voices saying this has got to stop. We cannot have this distrust amongst our different communities, not only in Rakhine but throughout the country. I think Aung San Suu Kyi has organized 1 or 2 interfaith dialogue sessions. I think that's fine. I mean, and she should do more of that. But she and all the members of our government should make an effort to say, whenever it is possible and relevant, perhaps on a daily basis, that this has to change, this has to stop. Otherwise it will not happen. And we all know that Aung San Suu Kyi has a lot of support in the country. If she says something like that, people actually do listen. So it's got to come from the top.
So she's got to speak out against the hate.
I hope she will. And she has done on several occasions, but not very strongly. And again, you know, one or two interfaith dialogue prayer sessions are not enough. You have to do this on a daily basis. You have to think about how you can make this into policy.